How to crack the Chinese market, the top 5 challenges of doing business in China. Now, there are many challenges of doing business in China. A lot of people want to get into the Chinese market, but what are some of the things that you have to watch out for? That's what we're going to talk about today. So Vic, why don't you share with us, this is the first challenge of going into China or entering the Chinese market?
Well, definitely language is the most obvious barrier. Yes. When you go into a country where you don't understand the language, translation becomes an issue. Whether or not you translated things properly and you don't double check your product and services, it can become a joke.
Sometimes we even see that even on Facebook. Some of the funny translation, they take the English name and they just Google translate it, and it looks, even when we go to the night market here, right? Some funny things, right? What about like, and also, but in terms of in China, there are many different types of language. A lot of local languages, even Mandarin itself has many different accents. Right? If you're good, you can just say, oh, this person's from the north or this person's from the south. Right? There are a lot of differences, right? What's your take?
For language, it's actually very different kind of variations in China, and then different kind of area people, they speak different kind of language.
It's so big, right?
In a way, like say north and south, like you couldn't even understand what they're saying if they're having private conversation. And north people wouldn't understand, right?
Even north itself has many.
So many provinces. So I think language is probably very big, and then I think also linked to culture or even the way of Chinese thinking. So that's everything is related.
I think for the culture, language, they're kind of related, right? So they think, oh, I'm going to sell to China, but it's so big. Even they just want to sell to a certain city in China, that makes their strategy would be different.
Definitely, because culture is tied to language.
Yes.
Every time, that's the same in China. Every time you cross a mountain, there's going to be a new dialect, a new variation of the Chinese language.
Yes.
So you cross a mountain, new language. That means there's some variation in the culture as well.
Yes.
So when you look at China, there are so many subcultures within China. So that's one thing to really be cautious about.
Yes. And I think unlike US, America, the culture of America is everyone, you immigrate to America, you become an American. It's like a melting pot.
Yes.
But China itself is, I think if you take back to even thousands of years, people don't travel as much. They stay in the same town to know everybody for the rest of their lives, right? So the language, the culture, that gets formed. And then our city gets formed, so they don't communicate as much. And until, of course, transportation, then people travel. But a lot of that, I think, stays the same. I found that even the food that they eat could differ a lot.
Northern and southern, like
totally different.
Even though tofu, I think in southern part it's a dessert.
It's a dessert, yes.
But in northern part, it's like a salty kind of dish.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
Yeah. When we first got married, we talked about tofu. I like it. Yeah, I've always had it. Sweet.
I never tried tofu pudding. What is that?
Never
tried it.
Very different. So language is an issue. So for someone want to crack the Chinese market, first of all, they have to understand exactly what city they're going after, and also we talk about the more developed city, right? The first
like a major city,
like
Beijing,
Shanghai, and then the less developed one. They all a lot of differences. So language, understanding who they're talking to. Culture, understand the culture, not just a big picture-wise, but a lot of intricate details and things that they have to understand. What's the third one?
Localization.
Yeah. So go understanding the culture, but localization itself is, Vic, I think you have some good example.
Localization is really understanding. Let's zoom into an even more micro part of the market. Okay. What do they like to eat? What do they like to do? Their habits are... there's a lot of variance between different cities and
day-to-day life.
Exactly. What they do is very different. So again, going back to what city are you targeting? What's their taste?
Yes.
Right. Even if you look at McDonald's, for example, right? The McDonald's around China, there's a lot of variations between them. They serve different foods. Like for example, some McDonald's in China, they offer this chicken congee, cornflake.
Congee.
At a McDonald's, right? But
even the KFC, right?
Exactly.
They have breakfast in China.
Yes, absolutely. And then there's an afternoon tea in Hong Kong where it's very famous,
egg tart,
right? egg tart, there's corn and chicken wings, and none of the stuff that we have, right? So, you know, look at McDonald's, and it's not an easy feat because you look at business as big as McDonald's, they've had a lot of failed projects as well.
Yes.
So when someone going into the market, they need to take what they have here, a proven system, a proven product, maybe modify slightly to kind of more custom tailor to the Chinese needs, right? How they buy, what they eat, how they shop, and also that need to take into consideration. Maybe even city to city that they need to take into consideration.
Yes, Beijing and Shanghai, totally
very different. Very different. And what about, so we have localization, we're going into that, we have to take that into consideration. How could someone, if they want to go into that, maybe one thing that they could do, in my mind, even big companies, Uber, that they make mistakes of naming things that has a sound, like a funny sounding meaning in Chinese too, right? In Uber.
Uber, Airbnb, brands from Australia. It's a little bit surprising, but at the same time, it's not so surprising as well, right? You would think that big companies, they would know enough to partner with the right Chinese partners and or affiliates to make sure that the naming process is appropriate, the naming convention is appropriate. Whereas a lot of, you know, when Airbnb announced their name, you know, Weibo, which is the Twitter version in China, they went wild on kind of mocking the Chinese version of the name because it just sounded so off. It makes sense maybe in English in terms of meaning, but translated to Chinese, you really need to pay attention to the individual word, the characters, and homophones. Like, what does it sound like in other words? Right? Because there's different meanings with the same words in Chinese.
But there's also some really good examples, like they translate to Chinese name is even meaning better. Let's say Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
In Chinese, it's Coca-Cola. That means it's tasty, and when you're drinking, you're happy. That's a great name.
That's a great name.
Fits perfectly.
So even naming things, and also what about like in terms of even holidays? Certain holidays in China, it's culture, right? That you know,
very different.
It's not just here all the big shopping time. It's December, Christmas, right? Share with us maybe some big holidays in China that's a good time to spend money.
I think first one is the Mid-Autumn Day, like the full moon. The Chinese celebrate once a year in China. That means all families together around. That's one big one. And
that's what we don't have in North America.
Chinese New Year definitely.
Chinese New Year, huge.
Right, one of the biggest.
Because Chinese don't take, we don't take a lot of time off in December. We take time off in Chinese New Year.
Yeah, around January, February.
So it's equivalent of the North America Christmas.
Yes.
So that's pocket money.
And then usually Chinese take a month off.
A month off. So everything stops. If you're manufacturing in China, like what the hell are these guys? 1 month off. They don't work for a month.
The incredible thing with that is there's so many people in China that the government is considering having staggered holidays. Because I don't know if you've seen some of the photos where people, they want to go back home to visit their family during Chinese New Year.
Hundreds of millions of people.
They get stuck on this highway where there's like, not an exaggeration, like 20 lanes of cars trying to merge into two. And they're stuck on the roads for like a week out of the month.
And the train station, you see millions of people getting stuck.
Exactly. And that's just really another thing about understanding the culture. Right? New Year's, for them, it's not the same as New Year's for us. Here.
Even though Labor Day, the long holiday, they have a whole week, Labor Day, you go to all the, like, say, Great Wall, those kind of touristy sites, Chinese people are just like, it's like zombies attacking.
It is. They call that zombie.
The swarms.
Yes.
If you like this video, comment below. Ask us a question. We'll answer your question in future episodes, as I said. And we'll take those questions and make episodes and make shows based on those. And also click on the subscribe button, turn on notification, click on the bell button. On the left side, you see also other videos that we've done about selling to China. We'll be continuing making videos. We upload a new video every single week, so stay tuned.